The Deep Space Monitoring Station Nexus 7 floated silently in the void, its massive sensor arrays sweeping through distant star systems like mechanical eyes searching for secrets. Senior Operator Veltar had been monitoring the outer rim sectors for 12 cycles when his console erupted with warning signals. The crystalline being's forearms moved frantically across holographic displays as energy readings unlike anything in the galactic database flooded his screens. "Impossible," Veltar whispered in his native tongue, his translator circuit struggling to process his disbelief. The energy signatures from System 2847 Gamma showed technological advancement that violated every known law of species development. According to their readings, these creatures had gone from primitive chemical rockets to faster-than-light travel in less than a century. The Zephyrian evolutionary models predicted such advancement should take at least 10,000 years. Meanwhile, 300 light-years away, Commander Hyunwoo Park guided his patrol squadron through the asteroid fields near Jupiter. The sleek human fighters moved like silver hawks through space, their fusion engines leaving brief trails of blue fire. Park had been conducting these routine exercises for months, but today felt different. His instruments detected gravitational anomalies at the edge of the solar system that made his skin crawl with anticipation. "Control, this is Eagle 1, Park spoke into his helmet comm. "I'm reading massive gravitational distortions beyond Pluto's orbit. Whatever's causing this is bigger than anything we've ever built." The response came crackling through static. "Eagle 1, maintain current position. We're detecting it too. Stand by for new orders." Aboard the Zephyrian diplomatic vessel. Harmony's voice. Ambassador HFY studied the preliminary intelligence reports with growing fascination. The ship itself was a marvel of organic technology, its living hull pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that indicated the crew's emotional states. HFY's elongated form moved gracefully through corridors that resembled the inside of a massive tree, complete with branching pathways and chambers that breathed with the ship's life systems. "These humans are remarkable," HFY said to his aide Mordek. "Look at these energy patterns. They've developed antimatter containment systems that our own engineers consider theoretical. Their spacecraft designs show incredible innovation born from necessity and limited resources." The Harmony's voice engaged its dimensional fold drive, tearing a hole in spacetime that allowed the massive vessel to cross hundreds of light-years in moments. As they emerged at the edge of the human solar system, the ship's sensors immediately began cataloging everything from radio transmissions to the composition of distant planets. On Earth, Dr. So-Young Kim stood in the observation dome of the Seoul Space Center, her breath fogging the reinforced glass as she stared up at the stars. The Xenological Studies Division had been established only 2 years ago, more as a precaution than from any real expectation of contact. Now, as she watched the feeds from orbital telescopes, she witnessed humanity's greatest moment and potentially its last. The alien ship was enormous, easily 10 kilometers long, and shaped like a massive sea creature with flowing appendages that seemed to move with purpose. Its hull shifted colors from deep purple to silver, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. Energy readings suggested power systems that could vaporize entire continents. "Dr. Kim," her assistant called urgently, "we're receiving structured transmissions from the vessel. It's definitely artificial, definitely intelligent." The Zephyrian Council of Wisdoms convened in their great chamber, a spherical room where representatives from 7 different species floated in specialized atmosphere. Bubbles. The debate was brief but intense. They had successfully brought 47 species into their confederation over the past millennium, always through peaceful integration and cultural assimilation. Council Speaker Tekval, whose gaseous form swirled within a containment field, addressed the assembly. "These humans represent a unique opportunity. Their rapid technological development suggests incredible potential, but also possible instability. We must approach with standard protocols." The vote was unanimous. First contact would proceed according to established procedures that had worked flawlessly for centuries. The humans would be offered membership in galactic civilization, along with all the benefits and responsibilities that entailed. Captain, Jin Ho Lee received the emergency transmission while his research vessel, Discovery, conducted mineral surveys in the outer asteroid belt. The ship's AI systems immediately began plotting intercept courses as Lee studied the tactical displays showing the alien vessel's approach vector. "All hands to stations," Lee announced over the ship's intercom. "We are now humanity's first line of contact with an alien civilization. Our actions in the next few hours may determine the future of our entire species." The Discovery changed course, its crew of scientists and explorers suddenly finding themselves at the center of the most important moment in human history. As both ships approached each other through the cold emptiness of space, neither species understood that they were about to make mistakes that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. The translation center deep beneath Seoul buzzed with desperate activity as Dr. Mira Song stared at walls of holographic displays showing alien symbols that seemed to shift and dance before her eyes. Her team of linguists worked around the clock, feeding every scrap of alien communication into quantum computers that struggled to make sense of languages that had evolved on worlds humans couldn't even imagine. "The mathematical structures are consistent," Song muttered to her colleague, wiping exhaustion from her eyes. "But the cultural context is completely alien. These symbols could mean greeting, threat, or religious proclamation, depending on how we interpret the harmonic frequencies." The first official Zephyrian message arrived as a complex burst of electromagnetic patterns accompanied by gravitational pulses that made sensitive equipment across Earth shake slightly. When the translation algorithms finally produced results, the message read, "Submit to higher law for universal betterment. Your compliance ensures prosperity." Admiral Dong-Hyun Choi stood in the war room beneath the Pacific Defense Command, surrounded by holographic displays showing every military asset humanity possessed. The translated message glowed in red letters above the central table, and to his military mind, the meaning was crystal clear. "They're demanding our surrender," Choi said grimly to his staff. "Dress it up however you want, but that's an ultimatum. They show up with a ship that could glass our entire planet, then tell us to submit. This is an invasion, not first contact." Defense Minister Lee Sang-woo nodded gravely. "Admiral, prepare our forces for defensive positions. If they want a fight, humanity won't go down without one." Aboard the Harmony's voice, Ambassador Kethvai felt confusion rippling through his telepathic connection to the ship's living systems. The human response made no sense according to every first contact scenario in their databases. Instead of gratitude for being offered membership in galactic civilization, the humans were asking questions about territory, independence, and sovereignty. "They speak of borders in space," Kethvai said to his cultural analyst Mordek, "as if the void between stars could belong to any single species. Such primitive thinking. They don't understand that individual planetary governments are inefficient relics of pre-galactic civilization." The Zephyrian ambassador tried again, this time explaining the benefits of joining their confederation: shared technology, protection from hostile species, and access to thousands of worlds. But the humans kept responding with questions about maintaining their own laws, their own government, their own way of life. Lieutenant Commander Ye Jin Han operated the most advanced sensor array in the human fleet from her position aboard the research vessel Discovery. Captain Jin Ho Lee had ordered passive scans only, but as the alien ship's strange energy patterns fluctuated, Han made a fateful decision. "Captain, their power systems are showing irregular patterns," Han reported. "I'm detecting what might be weapons charging. Request permission to perform active sensor sweep to assess threat level." "Do it," Lee replied. "We need to know what we're dealing with." The focused sensor beam lanced out from Discovery, invisible to human eyes but blazing, like a searchlight to Zephyrian perception. The alien ship's living hull recoiled as if struck, bioluminescent patterns flashing in what could only be described as pain and outrage. On the Zephyrian bridge, crew members writhed in their biopods as the human sensor beam penetrated their ship's neural networks. To beings who communicated through shared consciousness, the scan felt like having their thoughts violated by crude mechanical intrusion. "They attack our minds!" screamed Navigator Velnash, his crystalline form crackling with defensive energy. These primitives dare to assault our sacred mental barriers. Ambassador HFY felt his diplomatic composure cracking. Impossible. No civilized species would commit such a violation. Perhaps these humans are not ready for peaceful contact after all. Communication Officer Tae-min Kim worked desperately in his cramped station aboard the orbital communication platform, trying to explain that the sensor scan was routine military procedure, not an attack. But his messages seemed to only make the aliens angrier. Every attempt at clarification was met with responses that suggested the humans were being deliberately insulting. "Sir, they're establishing some kind of energy barrier around their ship," Kim reported to Earth Command. "It's pushing away everything within a 50-kilometer radius, including our observation drones." The Zephyrians had created their purification zone, a religious boundary that prevented contamination of their sacred vessel by primitive influences. To them, it was a standard spiritual practice. To humans monitoring the situation, it looked like preparation for an attack. Mining vessel. Operator Sung-Ho Park was having the worst day of his life. His automated ore harvester had malfunctioned during routine operations in the asteroid belt, and now his ship was drifting helplessly through space. The small vessel's navigation systems showed him approaching something massive, but his sensors couldn't penetrate the strange energy field surrounding it. "Control, this is -7, Park transmitted. "I've got engine failure and I'm drifting towards some kind of anomaly. My instruments are going crazy." The response crackled with static. "-7, you're approaching the alien vessel's restricted zone. Reverse course immediately." "I'm trying," Park shouted into his radio, "but my engines are dead. I can't stop." As the small human mining ship crossed into the Zephyrian purification zone, alarms began screaming aboard the Harmony's voice. To the aliens, this was the ultimate insult, humans deliberately violating their most sacred space. To Park, it was just another day when everything went wrong at the worst possible time. Both fleets began powering weapon systems as the mining vessel drifted helplessly between them, its pilot unaware that he had just triggered humanity's first interstellar war. Captain Yoon-ji Lee was reviewing supply manifests aboard the patrol cruiser, Iron Wolf, when the emergency transmission crackled through her bridge speakers. The desperation in mining operator Sung-Ho Park's voice cut through the static like a knife, and Lee's military instincts kicked in immediately. "All hands to battle stations," Lee commanded, her voice echoing through the ship's corridors. "We have a civilian vessel in distress near the alien contact zone. Launch rescue corvette immediately." The Iron Wolf's hangar bay doors split open like metal jaws, revealing the sleek form of the rescue corvette, Swift Arrow. Pilot Min-Soo Kim strapped himself into the fighter's cockpit, his hands moving across holographic controls with practiced precision. The ship's fusion drive ignited with a brilliant blue flame, and Kim shot out into space like a bullet fired from a gun. "Control, this is Swift Arrow," Kim transmitted as his sensors painted the tactical situation ahead. "I've got visual on the mining vessel. It's dead in space, drifting toward the alien energy barrier." What Kim saw next made his blood run cold. 6 alien fighters had emerged from the massive mothership, their organic-looking hulls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that seemed almost alive. The creatures surrounding Sung-Ho Park's helpless mining vessel looked like metallic sea creatures crossed with advanced spacecraft, their tentacle-like appendages crackling with unknown energy. "Control, the aliens have surrounded our civilian," Kim reported, his finger hovering over the weapon activation switch. "Mining vessel appears to be disabled and helpless. Alien intentions unknown. Aboard mining vessel, Lucky Strike, Sung-Ho." Park watched in terror as the alien fighters closed in around him. Their ships moved with fluid grace, unlike anything in human engineering. Strange musical tones emanated from their hulls, creating harmonics that made his teeth ache even through his sealed cabin. "Please," Park whispered into his radio, "I don't know what they want. My ship is dead. I'm just a miner. I don't have any weapons." The lead alien fighter, commanded by flight leader Zethmore, extended sensor tendrils toward the human vessel. To the Zephyrian pilot, this was standard procedure for examining contaminated objects that had violated sacred space. To Park, it looked like metallic tentacles reaching out to grab his ship, "They're attacking," Park screamed into his transmitter. "The aliens are attacking me." Min-Soo Kim heard the panic in the civilian's voice and saw what appeared to be alien ships preparing to capture or destroy a helpless human vessel. His training took over, and every combat simulation he'd ever run told him the same thing: protect the innocent, engage the threat. "This is Swift Arrow engaging hostile contacts," Kim announced, his targeting computer locking onto the nearest alien fighter. "I have weapons free." The corvette's plasma cannons erupted with streams of superheated energy that lit up the darkness of space. Kim's first shots struck the lead Zephyrian fighter, causing its biohull to convulse and flash with pain signals. The alien ship reeled backward, its harmonious flight pattern disrupted as emergency systems activated. Flight Commander Zethmore felt his ship's living systems crying out in agony as the crude human weapons burned through sections of hull that had grown over centuries. The attack was not just physical damage, but a violation of everything sacred to Zephyrian culture. Their ships were not mere machines, but living partners, and the humans had just committed the equivalent of torturing an innocent creature. "Defensive formation," Zethmore commanded in his melodic language. "These savages attack without warning or honor. Show them the price of aggression." The remaining Zephyrian fighters moved with deadly precision, their organic weapon systems charging with energies that human science barely understood. Beams of coherent gravity waves lanced out from their hulls, distorting space-time itself as they reached toward Kim's corvette. The Swift Arrow bucked and twisted as gravitational forces tried to tear it apart from within. Kim fought his controls. As the ship's hull groaned under impossible stresses, his inertial dampeners screaming warnings as they struggled to keep him from being crushed by his own acceleration. "Taking heavy fire," Kim reported through gritted teeth. "These weapons are like nothing we've seen. They're not just hitting my ship, they're hitting space itself." Kim's return fire caught another Zephyrian fighter in its engine cluster, causing a cascade of bioelectrical failures that sent the alien ship spinning out of control. The wounded craft's pilot, a young Zephyrian named Velkes, transmitted a distress call as her ship's life support systems began failing. The brief but vicious engagement lasted only minutes, but the damage was catastrophic. Kim's corvette limped, away with half its systems destroyed and radiation leaking from its reactor core. 3 human crew members aboard a nearby observation post died when debris from the battle punctured their station's hull. The crippled Zephyrian fighter drifted helplessly, its pilot barely alive within a dying ship. Colonel Jae-woon Park watched the tactical display from the military command center on Lunar Base, his face pale as he witnessed humanity's first space battle. The real-time feeds showed human and alien spacecraft exchanging fire with weapons that could reshape matter at the atomic level. This wasn't the peaceful first contact that scientists had dreamed about for centuries. "Get me Admiral Han, immediately," Park ordered his communications officer. "First contact just became first blood, and we're not prepared for what's coming next." Admiral Soo-Jin Han convened the emergency session within hours, the Earth Defense Council gathering via holographic link from secure bunkers across the planet. The evidence was clear and terrifying. Humanity faced an enemy with technology centuries ahead of their own, and the shooting had already started. Dr. Chang-Min Lee presented his analysis of the captured weapon signatures with barely controlled fear in his voice. "Their energy weapons manipulate fundamental forces we're only beginning to understand. They can bend gravity, alter electromagnetic fields, and project force beams that ignore conventional shielding." Meanwhile, millions of light-years away, Ambassador Kethevai transmitted his report to the Galactic Council with profound sadness in his crystalline voice. "The humans are irredeemably violent. They fired upon our peaceful escort vessels without provocation, showing no respect for the sanctity of life. I fear they may be beyond salvation." The Zephyrian pacification fleet emerged from dimensional, fold space like metallic leviathans awakening from deep ocean dreams. War Coordinator Thekval commanded the armada from aboard the massive dreadnought Universal Harmony, a living ship 3 kilometers long, whose biomechanical hull pulsed with the rhythm of a giant heartbeat. The fleet consisted of 47 vessels, each one grown rather than built, their organic hulls shifting between deep purple and silver as they communicated through patterns of light. "Survey the primitive world," Thekvel commanded from his command chamber, a spherical room where he floated in specialized atmospheric gel. "These humans have proven themselves dangerously unstable. We will bring order through superior force, as we have done with other violent species." On Earth, General Myung-Jun Kim stood before the holographic displays in the underground command center beneath the Korean peninsula. Every military asset humanity possessed was represented by glowing icons scattered across three-dimensional star maps. Compared to the alien fleet approaching their solar system, human forces looked like ants preparing to fight dragons. "Ladies and gentlemen," Kim addressed the Joint Chiefs of Staff via secure transmission, "we are about to face an enemy that sees us as dangerous animals to be caged or put down. Our ancestors fought impossible odds before and survived. Today, we fight for the right to remain human." The mobilization was unlike anything in human history. Military factories that had been mothballed since the last global conflict roared back to life, producing fusion missiles and plasma cannon arrays around the clock. Civilian freighters were converted into troop transports, while mining vessels received armor plating and weapon mounts. Every human with pilot training found themselves recruited into the hastily expanded Space Force. Proxima Station had been humanity's farthest outpost, a research facility studying the red dwarf star and its potentially habitable planets. When the Zephyrian fleet arrived, the station suddenly became the front line of humanity's desperate defense. Captain Boram Yoon received orders to hold the position at all costs, buying time for Earth's evacuation fleets to prepare for the worst. "We're not running," Yoon told her crew aboard the retrofitted battleship Defiant Spirit. "Every minute we hold them here is another minute for our families to prepare. We make our stand at Proxima." The battle began with the Zephyrians attempting their standard pacification protocol, overwhelming displays of superior firepower designed to break enemy morale without excessive destruction. Massive energy beams lanced out from their bioships, precisely targeting human weapon systems and engines while leaving life support intact. But Captain Yoon and her fleet responded with tactics the aliens had never encountered. Human ships scattered in seemingly random directions, then converged on single targets with coordinated attacks that ignored their own safety. Pilots rammed their fighters into alien hull breaches, detonating fusion bombs that tore through biomechanical tissues like fire through living flesh. "Impossible," War Coordinator Thekval whispered as he watched the tactical displays. "They sacrifice themselves deliberately. What manner of species chooses death over surrender? The human defense fleet used every dirty trick in their arsenal. They detonated asteroid mining charges to create debris fields that clogged alien sensor arrays. They launched nuclear missiles with fake life signs, making the Zephyrians hesitate to shoot down what they thought were escape pods. Most shocking of all, they used their own damaged ships as weapons, turning crippled vessels into guided missiles aimed at alien command centers." Dr. Hai-Won Park was leading the civilian evacuation from Proxima Station's research labs when Zephyrian boarding pods breached the station's hull. The organic-looking craft sprouted tendrils that melted through metal bulkheads, disgorging alien soldiers that looked like walking crystals wrapped in living armor. "Don't resist," the lead alien communicated through harmonic vibrations that her universal translator converted to speech. "Comply and receive medical treatment. Violence brings only suffering." Park found herself in a detention cell aboard the Zephyrian ship, a curved chamber whose walls pulsed with soft bioluminescence. Her cellmate was cultural analyst Mordek, a being that resembled a collection of floating geometric shapes surrounded by shimmering energy fields. "Heu studious," Park said, watching the alien's patterns shift in what might have been curiosity. "Why? What do you want to understand about humanity?" Over days of careful communication, using mathematics and basic concepts to bridge their language gap, horrifying truths began to emerge. Mordek explained the Zephyrian philosophy of galactic harmony through what they called cultural integration. 47 species joined willingly, the analyst explained through translated harmonic frequencies. Their violent tendencies were removed. Their divisive cultures were replaced with unified purpose. They became peaceful and productive members of galactic society. Dr. Park felt her blood turn to ice as she understood the implications. You erased them. You took away everything that made them unique and turned them into copies of yourselves. We saved them, Mordek insisted. Violence, competition, individual desires cause suffering. Unity brings peace. Park began sharing humanity's own dark history, explaining through crude drawings and basic words how her species had survived slavery, genocide, and oppression throughout their development. She showed the analyst historical records of how humans had fought against extinction again and again, and how each victory had taught them that surrender to superior force meant the death of everything they valued. Your people offer us peace, Park said, her voice shaking with emotion. But your peace means becoming something else. To humans, that's not salvation. That's extinction with extra steps. Mordek's energy patterns flickered with what might have been confusion or concern. But your species will destroy itself without guidance. All violent races do. Maybe, Park admitted, but we'll do it as humans. We'd rather die free than live as copies of you. As the battle raged outside their prison, both beings began to understand that this conflict wasn't just about territory or resources. It was about two completely different ideas of what life should be, and neither side could compromise, without losing everything they believed made existence worthwhile. The revelation came too late to stop the war, but it planted seeds of understanding that would eventually grow into something resembling wisdom. The breakthrough came in a sterile laboratory aboard the neutral trading station Meridian Point, where xenolinguist Woo Jin Kim worked alongside his unlikely partner, Zephyrian analyst Velneth. For weeks they had been dissecting the original first contact transmissions, while their respective fleets maintained an uneasy ceasefire just beyond the asteroid belt. "Look at this harmonic frequency," Kim said, pointing to a complex waveform on his holographic display. "Your language uses gravitational pulses to convey emotional context, but our translation computers only processed the electromagnetic components." Velneth's crystalline form shimmered with what Kim had learned to recognize as excitement. "And your species embeds cultural meaning in linguistic stress patterns that our biotranslators interpreted as aggressive posturing. The greeting 'we' sent translated as 'submit to higher law' in your language, but in ours it means 'welcome to the community of wisdom.'" The horrible irony became clear as they reconstructed the chain of mistranslations. Every attempt at clarification had only made things worse, each species interpreting the other's confusion as deliberate hostility. What should have been humanity's greatest moment had become their bloodiest mistake. Admiral Ji-hoon Yoon's flagship, Eternal Vigilance, drifted in the void between Mars and Jupiter, its battle-scarred hull bearing witness to months of brutal fighting. Across from him, separated by exactly 100 kilometers of empty space, the Zephyrian command vessel, Song of Unity, maintained its position with the grace of a living creature at rest. The meeting took place aboard a hastily constructed, neutral habitat, a simple metal cylinder with basic life support that could accommodate both species' environmental needs. Hyun floated in his section wearing full battle armor, while Fleet Commander Kalardeth occupied a specialized atmospheric chamber filled with the exotic gases his species required. "Your people fight like cornered predators," Kalardeth observed, his translated voice carrying tones of grudging respect. "We have never encountered a species so willing to die rather than accept guidance." Yoon studied the alien commander through the transparent barrier separating them. Kalardeth resembled a collection of floating geometric shapes wrapped in energy fields, beautiful and terrible in equal measure. "Your guidance looks a lot like slavery to us. Every species you've helped has lost what made them unique. And your independence has cost thousands of lives," Kalardeth replied. "We sought to prevent exactly this kind of suffering." The two commanders sat in silence for long minutes, each recognizing the tragic truth. Both species had acted according to their nature and experience. Humans fought because their history taught them that submission to superior force meant extinction. The Zephyrians imposed order because they genuinely believed it was the only way to prevent the chaos and violence they had witnessed across the galaxy. "We cannot undo what has been done," Yoon said finally, but perhaps we can prevent it from happening again. The ceasefire negotiations took place as rescue ships from both fleets worked to recover survivors from the wreckage of battle. Human medical teams found themselves treating wounded Zephyrians whose biomechanical bodies required completely alien medical techniques. Zephyrian healers used their advanced technology to save human lives, their living ships growing new organs to replace those damaged in combat. Captain Su-Young Lee documented everything from her mobile command post, a converted cargo hauler that had become the unofficial historical archive of humanity's first interstellar war. Her reports painted a grim picture of the cost of misunderstanding between species. 17 human vessels destroyed, over 3,000 personnel killed or missing, and 6 Zephyrian bioships so badly damaged they would never heal properly. The war nobody wanted has ended, Lee recorded in her final transmission to Earth. We fought because we thought they wanted to enslave us. They fought because they thought we were dangerous savages. Both sides were partially right, and that makes this tragedy all the more bitter. The peace treaty was signed in the shadow of Proxima Station's ruins, the research facility now serving as a memorial to those who died in the first battle. Representatives from dozens of species arrived to witness the historic moment, many of them former members of the Zephyrian Confederation who had been watching the conflict with growing unease. Dr. Youngmin Park established the Institute for Interspecies Communication in the rebuilt station, its mission to prevent future wars through better understanding of alien cultures and languages. The facility became a beacon of hope, where beings from across the galaxy came to learn how to truly talk to each other instead of simply exchanging words. Communication is more than translation, Park explained to his first class of students, which included both human diplomats and young Zephyrians. It requires understanding not just what is said, but what is meant, what is feared, and what is hoped for. The Zephyrian Confederation underwent its own transformation. Ambassador HFY, forever changed by his experiences with humanity, led a reform movement that questioned centuries of assumptions about how to achieve galactic peace. For the first time in their history, the Zephyrians began allowing member species to maintain their own cultures and governments while participating in the larger community. Perhaps, HFY addressed the reformed Galactic Council, true harmony comes not from making all voices sing the same song, but from teaching them to sing together while remaining unique. Humanity had earned its place in the galaxy through blood and sacrifice, proving that a species could be both civilized and fiercely independent. The ancient Confederation learned that peace cannot be imposed from above, but must be built through mutual respect and understanding. The memorial gardens on Proxima Station grew wild and beautiful, tended by both human and Zephyrian caretakers who worked side by side. In the center stood a simple monument, bearing names in dozens of languages, a reminder that the price of misunderstanding was always paid in lives that could never be returned. The galaxy was forever changed, not by conquest or submission, but by the hard-won knowledge that different could still mean equal, and that true peace required the courage to remain oneself while learning to understand others. The end.